Welcome to the Fearless Entrepreneurs Podcast, where we share the incredible stories of Canada's boldest business owners. I'm your host, Cindy Chang, founder of Evolve Consulting Co. Join us as we explore the stories behind why these entrepreneurs started their businesses, the challenges that they faced, and how they leaned into their fears. So whether you're an entrepreneur or just love inspiring stories, let's take a deep dive into their journeys. Let's go. Welcome, everyone, to the Fearless Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest here with us. She's a holistic baby guru. She's a seasoned occupational therapist, an infant craniosacral therapist, and a mama of two. She works with new moms around baby sleep, development, reflux, and much more. What is really at the root of all that fussiness and sleep difficulties? That's what new moms really want to know. I know that would have been very helpful when I had my daughter. She helps moms understand their babies while gaining confidence in themselves so that they can courageously do motherhood their own way. In a nutshell, she makes parents feel like they can really do this thing called parenting. She's a published author, host of her own podcast, Mothering from Within, and runs local mom and baby classes in person and online. Welcome, Kaili Ets, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored.
We're so happy to have you here. So Kaili, tell us a little bit about what is occupational therapy, because it's so important. And the first time you told me about this, I didn't even know this existed.
So it's a hard question to answer, I will be honest. I think all occupational therapists understand my difficulty in explaining this profession, which is probably part of the reason why not very many people know about it. So essentially everything that we do during our day, all of our daily activities, things that we need to do, things that we want to do, those are all considered occupations.
Right.
And occupational therapists can help you get back to doing the occupations that you need to do and that you desire to do. So whether that's self-care occupations like grooming or going to the bathroom, it could be your job, getting to work, doing your work. It could be leisure activities. So any hobbies that you have, or going to the gym or exercising or whatever it is that you want to be doing. So as you can see, that's a very broad sort of all-encompassing profession. Now, most occupational therapists will actually work with either a specific population or a specific diagnosis or a specific age or in a specific area. So there's some school occupational therapists. There's some occupational therapists that do help with return to work. There's some occupational therapists that work with the elderly. And then there's pediatric occupational therapists that work with the 0 to 18 population. I have gradually niched down into the 0 to 2 age range. And if you're thinking, oh my gosh, what kinds of occupations do babies have? Things like sleeping, eating, playing, moving, all of those are considered their occupations. So technically, I can help with all of those things and getting back to their optimal level of performance.
Where were you when I had my daughter, Kaili? I think that was probably one of the best descriptions of occupational therapy I've heard. Getting back to your fully able self. So 0 to 2, tough age for new parents, right?
100%.
Oh my goodness. How did you niche down into this, and how did you even get started as an occupational therapist?
Like many people that work with that baby kind of population, it started when I had my own babies. Now, I will say that I have loved babies and children for my entire life since I was 6 and my sister was born.
Right.
Basically, I told my parents that I was going to take care of her and she was mine. So I have done all the things. I have done the babysitting. I've done the camp counseling. When my parents would go to parties or have parties, I was the one that was always gravitated towards taking care of the babies and the little kids. That's just always been my jam. So I knew when I went to school, I knew that I wanted to do something with children.
Okay.
So when I finally decided that occupational therapy was the route, I knew that I was going to be a pediatric occupational therapist. There was absolutely no question about it. And that led me on a really interesting journey. And I learned all about infant and child development during that. I had many different experiences, both in Toronto, in New York City. And then when I had my own baby 8.5 years ago, I was in for a huge shock, okay? I thought I had the whole mom thing. I have wanted to be a mom for my entire life. That was my dream. And I was like, oh, it's going to be so easy for me because I have all this experience, I have all this knowledge, and it was not easy.
I know what you mean, 100%. Yeah.
Motherhood really rocked me in those, especially those first few months. Things that I was not even expecting. First of all, I had an unplanned C-section. So that already, I was recovering from something that I wasn't ready for. I had a baby who didn't really want to sleep anywhere except for on me. And I thought that was not normal. And I struggled with breastfeeding. Everything was painful. I don't know how much TMI you want on this show.
Let's go all in. We're going all in, Kaili.
I remember breastfeeding was really important to me. So after nursing my son, I used to sit at the kitchen table in our little New York City apartment, and I would soak my breasts in warm salt water because in my head, that's like probably such an old wives' tale, right? I was like, well, this is going to help the pain.
The salt, the cabbage patches, you name it, we've been there as new moms.
So all of it was really hard. And then I also had this baby who hated tummy time. And as an OT, I knew, oh my gosh, like tummy time is so important. He had a bit of a flat spot in his head. There were so many things that I felt I was doing wrong. What was wrong with my baby? I was comparing him to all sorts of other babies in the classes, and that was driving my stress. I just didn't know what to do. I was overwhelmed. I was exhausted. I was looking for help. I was going to see all sorts of people. Nobody really... They tried their best, but I just didn't get the help that I needed. And to make matters worse, I feel like everybody was saying something different. Yes. And so that in and of itself was so confusing.
Yes.
And I really felt like I was failing at motherhood. And so that became my why, right? I thought to myself, I have worked with kids my entire life. I have done training in infant and child development. I have held babies and played with babies my entire life. And I still felt like it was so hard. So what about all the parents who don't have all of that experience and that knowledge and that know-how of what do I even do with this little baby? How are they feeling? Yeah. If I feel like I'm failing, they're probably feeling that 3 times as much.
And that hits so deeply, Kaili, because as a new mom, you're not only tired, but you're exhausted. And then something you said really resonated was everyone's coming at you with different information and you have to do this and you can't do that. And the baby judgment begins. That's really cool that you decided to niche down on something that is so important to new moms and making them feel like they're normal and it's okay. And all of these baby things are just what babies do because that's what they're learning still.
Yeah. And so that experience kind of led me on this whole journey of just constantly learning. I'm that learner. I call myself a course junkie. So I love to learn new things. So I've gone on a roller coaster of different pathways. I've gotten certified in holistic sleep. And then, of course, with sleep comes the baby reflux. So I got certified in baby reflux. And then I found myself always referring to craniosacral therapists or osteopaths. And so then I got trained in infant craniosacral therapy. It has just shaped my path of my own learning and my own passions as well. And so now, as a result, I have spent literally the last 8.5 years learning all I can learn about babies and toddlers and tongue ties and sleep and reflux and development and all the things. Because I just see the need. I see one thing leads to the other. It's never just sleep in isolation. There's always a reason.
So that path naturally formed for you based on your interest and just shaped that way. When did you decide that you wanted to venture out on your own as an entrepreneur? And what was that journey like for you?
I had my first in New York City. And we knew that we were moving to Canada just to be closer to family. And that had always been our plan. So we knew that we were going to be moving around the time that he was about 6 months. So I knew I wasn't going back to work in the States. And so when we did move to Toronto when he was 6 months old, I decided I'm not ready to leave my baby and I'm just going to be at home for a little bit. But I also felt like I needed to still exercise my professional brain because remembering which side I breastfed on last and counting the amount of poopy diapers, not my jam.
Right. I totally understand. Mine was around 10 months where I was like, I need adult interaction.
So I needed to have that little piece. And so that's when I actually started running my mom and baby classes. Okay. And I remember, oh my gosh, this is so hilarious to think back to where I started, because I used to walk around my neighborhood literally taping flyers to telephone poles and light poles with my baby in his stroller. And I would just grab a flyer and tape it to the post, trying to advertise these mom and baby classes.
Love that so much. Like a real entrepreneur, you're out there flyering.
I mean, I think back to myself and that was my strategy, but I didn't know any different then.
How are people supposed to know? And did that work?
It did. Okay, my very first baby class only had 4 moms in it, but it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And that actually has now become my minimum number in order to even run the class.
Okay.
So that was a really great learning experience. And those moms, I bet you, are still friends to this day. They really connected and they knew it was my first class. So they were very open to me forgetting things and being super nervous. And now I have been running those baby classes called Babies at Play. I've been running those for the last 8.5 years, and in Toronto, in Burlington, all over the place. They've been so successful that I decided to turn that actually into an online course for pediatric therapists and postnatal professionals, because I spent so much time trying to figure out how to put all my knowledge into a mom and baby class format that wasn't overwhelming. That was really there to guide moms, to support moms, but also to help them bond with their babies and to realize, you know what, you don't need all of the baby gadgets. You don't need all of the things to entertain your baby. And when you can just play with your baby and be with your baby and get curious about your baby and watch your baby, it actually makes motherhood so much more enjoyable.
100%. A lot of people focus on prenatal, which only prepares you for that first day. And
so true.
Yeah, and I always think that there needs to be more content and courses on what happens after you bring this little squishy human being home, driving 5 kilometers an hour home from the hospital. You're responsible for a human being back there. This is exactly what new mothers need. And so your online course, we'll link it in the show notes for everyone. I bet you new moms will be all over that. And so you run it all throughout the GTA.
So I run it locally. Okay. So I'm in Stony Creek. I do run it just at the womb right now in Burlington.
Great.
I am looking to run it at a new location in Ancaster. I used to run them in Toronto when I lived there, but I'm not driving to Toronto these days.
I get it. And so when you first started your business, let's go back to that, Kaili. You know, you were doing the flyering. You had your first workshop with 4 moms. That's so amazing. And what a perfect group. Looking for that connection, women that get together and support each other. I think that's such a beautiful thing. And so when were some notable moments along your business that felt really hard as an entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh, we're going to be here for a long time. So it's so interesting because I think I had some really quick wins initially in my entrepreneur journey. When I created this course for professionals on how to run their own mom and baby classes, I initially pre-sold it before I had even created the course because I wanted to see what the interest would be. So when I posted on like Facebook or something, I think I got 200 responses. Oh, wow. I want this. So I ended up having a beta kind of like pre-sale, and I limited it to 15 people. And those were gone within an hour.
Incredible.
And so it was like, woohoo, okay, this is amazing. Like I can totally do this. This is so fun. Now, I will say that I haven't had as many of those kind of quick win moments over the last 6 or 7 years. There's been ups and downs for sure. But it was nice to start off with that quick win. And then I remember when I was pregnant with my second is when I was like, okay, I think I need to have a website now.
The entrepreneur work backwards.
So I actually ended up through a connection. So funny. I didn't pay for a website design, but she needed experience designing websites because she wanted to get into that line of work. She was actually a physical therapist and wanted to get more into website design. So she was like, I'll just do your website as a practice. And I was like, amazing. That's great because I know nothing about technology.
Yeah. And as an entrepreneur, what I find is that as soon as you talk to other business owners, immediately they jump in, they help each other. And I think that's also a really beautiful part of the entrepreneur journey too.
It's so funny, like thinking back to how it all started, because now I will say that even though I don't consider myself techie, I know a lot of tech. I have built my website now 3 times over on my own. I do a lot of YouTube watching to figure it out, because that's one of those things I feel like as a small business, you do have to figure things out, at least initially, until you have the cash flow to be hiring a team for all of this. And I think that's something that we forget and lose sight of, is that all these big entrepreneurs who are famous and doing all these big things and having all these like gigantic sales revenue goals and milestones, they actually have a whole team that's helping them.
Absolutely. There's so many different things that we do as entrepreneurs where we're wearing different hats all the time. And you're right, they have a whole team to help them facilitate that. I can attest that Kaili is basically my IT manager. She's taught me how to podcast. I've seen her organizational files. You are basically in IT.
I'm also a social media manager. I'm also a CEO. I'm also an email marketer.
Yes. There's so many different moving pieces that just take time to build.
Yeah, totally.
What was some of the hardest parts of the journey, and who really jumped in to help you during that entrepreneur journey?
I feel like initially it was the tech that was the hard piece, because I didn't even really know where to start. I knew that I couldn't really start a business just putting flyers up
with your baby
with
stroller.
My baby in a stroller. But I think one of the first things was that I did hire a coach, because I didn't really know what the heck I was doing. And I was so new to the whole entrepreneur journey that I was like, I don't know, I need help. Yeah. My very first coach was actually another OT.
Okay.
Who I had been connected through another OT friend of ours. And I fell in love with her because she was doing a lot of stuff in that prenatal, perinatal, postpartum. And she was moving actually from that into business coaching. So I was like, okay, she gets me. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So that was my first journey, and that was amazing. And it really did teach me a lot about what is a funnel, an email campaign, and all of those basics. How does this actually work?
How do you make money from this business?
Yeah. So that, I would say, has been the driving force behind my entrepreneurial journey, is always, or at least most of the time, having a coach for that accountability piece.
Okay.
I've also done a lot of business courses to just get a little bit more of that sort of like strategy and the nitty gritty details of how you build a course. Here's how you do this. But I really find that the coach is the one that kind of, they're there to support you. So whatever your questions are, that's what they're helping with.
Absolutely.
Versus a course sometimes is more about one specific thing.
So you talk about something I think really important for entrepreneurs on their journey, which is investing in yourself and making the right investments to fuel your business forward. And at the end of the day, we can't just do everything on our own, even though it feels like that a lot of the time. We do have to make certain investments to grow our business. So I think that's very important and insightful. And with a lot of newer entrepreneurs, they just don't know what to invest in.
Yeah.
So business coach is a great one, because that they can really help you structure, compartmentalize, and figure out what your business needs as the next step. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's probably the first step, actually, I would say, because you don't really need a website. It's nice to have, but you could do a whole business without a website if you had other pieces. I think that sometimes entrepreneurs get stuck. And I totally was that person who was like, I need the business cards, I need the website, I need the this, I need all the things.
Yeah, it's
But
true.
I didn't necessarily have the strategy of like, how am I actually getting clients? I'm still
so
working on that.
I got you. Don't worry. Right? But it's so true. You get inundated with the things that you need versus focusing on the strategy and the why of why you're doing your business and growing your community, growing your followers, growing that reach. There's so many different facets. Now, tell me one thing about being an entrepreneur that you didn't expect.
It's a very good question. I think one thing that I didn't expect is that it has really made me dig deep within myself.
Okay, let's talk about that.
And get more comfortable with my own mindset and my own personal development, not just professional development. Getting comfortable with things not working out the way that I envision them, and really working hard to not beat myself up about it, because I'm definitely type A, overachiever, perfectionist. I'm a generator in human design. I'm a ruler in sacred money archetypes. Like, I'm like, go, 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 go. I need to be on the top of my game, and I'm really hard on myself. And I always have been.
Right.
So this is a big piece of the entrepreneurial journey where I've had to really, accept that, you know what, it's okay that I'm not perfect at everything. It's okay that I don't have 1 million followers on Instagram. It's okay that launch failed. It's okay that I didn't sell this course the way I wanted to. Let's just keep moving on.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think that really resonates with a lot of entrepreneurs going through their journey. They're perfectionists, everyone, to a certain extent. We don't want to go out there and look stupid and just look like we don't know what we're doing. And that's very scary for people. But that's really the journey, like the roadmap for being an entrepreneur. And that's really how we better ourselves as we go on, right? So thank you so much for sharing that. That definitely resonates with me as an entrepreneur, where, you know, launching this podcast, you were a big pivotal moment for me, because I was getting to a point where all of the fears were creeping in. All of the, I can't do the tech part. What do I ask? Is this going to be good enough? Are people going to like this? And you really took my hand and you're like, Cindy, it's going to be okay. We're going to do this. So thank you so much for sharing that, right? So let's get back to baby gurus.
Yes.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about the holistic part. Why is the holistic part so important for you?
So for me, the holistic part really means looking at the whole picture. So looking at the entire baby, at the entire situation, at the entire family. And I think that kind of comes from my occupational therapy training, because we were really taught to look at the person, the environment, and the occupation.
Right.
And so all of those things come in together, and then you can go even further into what does that family unit look like, and what does the mom and the dad, and what's that relationship. I don't go so deep, but who knows? That might be where my path is going to.
Right.
That's where the holistic piece started. And then as I started learning more about baby sleep and baby reflux and baby development and craniosacral therapy and like all of the things, I can't just choose one thing to focus on. That's what a lot of the big business gurus tell you. Just choose one thing, niche down, all this stuff. And it's so hard for me.
Right. Right.
So I niched down my population. I really feel like, because I come from a very broad profession and I do look at all the moving pieces, it's never just about sleep. It's never just about reflux. Those are the end result. But what is the cause? What is the reason your baby is waking up every hour? What is the reason your baby is spitting up after every meal? What is the reason your baby is fussy? I want to find the why.
Right.
And in order to find the why, I have to look at things from that big picture. I have to step back and be like, okay, what went on with the birth? What's going on with feeding? What's going on with XYZ?
Right.
Is there any body tightness? What is going on with this baby, with this family unit? And so that's where the holistic came from. I have changed my name on Instagram a lot of times. This one is the one that has stuck around for the longest.
I love it. I've seen the essential oils, and I see that she cures with essential oils, and that's so beautiful and it's natural. And you told me in your journey that you've also got rid of all like synthetic detergents, dish soap, cleaning products. I really do think that really impacts not only babies, but as women, our hormones and all of that, right? Our moods, everything like that, right?
Exactly. And that's like a whole other layer, right, of that holistic. That is definitely how I am in my own family. And I think I draw in those families also who want to try the natural remedies and homeopathic kind of remedies before going to medication.
Right.
I'm there for it. I'm also there for those families who are like, no, I give my baby Tylenol, which is totally fine too. But that's because you're making an informed decision. And that's part of what I also help families do, is to look at the big picture, see what options are available, and make an informed decision. Because that's so important versus just blindly following.
Yes, blindly following as a new mom is the Bible for new mothers, right? It's like, take this, okay, take this, okay, take that. And then you don't even know if it's good for you, if it's good for the baby. It's actually very dangerous at the end of the day. So I love that holistic piece. I think it's something that people really gravitate towards because you really just want babies to thrive in their own element. And their own element is just being natural and who they are. And all of that.
And that comes along with having moms thrive in their own element, aka in motherhood also, because there is such a connection, especially between primary caregiver, you could say, and baby. And really, you feed off of each other. So it's such a dance. This co-regulation piece is such a dance. And so really helping moms also to feel confident so that you don't have to be as anxious about your baby, you know, not liking tummy time. Let's find out why they don't like tummy time. Let's talk about why tummy time is so hard.
Right. I mean, it was all hard. The breastfeeding was hard. The tummy time was hard. You'd take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. And that was like that dance that I felt as a new mother where you're like, okay, I got this. And then 3 days later, I'm in the corner crying on the toilet, my baby in another room while I cried. It was a very emotional journey. Plus, on top of that, our hormones are going up and down. We're recovering from C-section, natural birth, whatever it is. It's a process.
It's a process. And I think we don't actually give ourselves enough grace as mamas, as women who have gone through childbirth, regardless of what that looked like. Our bodies did something really incredible. They grew a human and birthed a human.
Yeah.
That is no small feat.
Right.
And our bodies need to heal after that. We need to heal. We have changed. And something that I really like, this actually comes from one of the guests that was on my podcast, Karen McWilliams. She actually really loves to tell moms that they are as old as their firstborn child.
Right.
Because when your firstborn is born, you are also born as a mom.
Right.
And you have to give yourself grace. You're not expecting your newborn to be walking and running and jumping and all the things. When you start a new job, you're not expected to just go and do all the things perfectly. There's always a learning curve. But why are we so hard on ourselves in motherhood with this learning curve? Same goes for entrepreneurship, I feel like. Right? We are very hard on ourselves as entrepreneurs of like, why am I not further? Why am I not growing? Why am I not this? Right? But there is a learning curve. And you have to give yourself grace.
Yep, absolutely. When you were talking about your road bumps and your journey as an entrepreneur, I really saw that journey mirrored alongside being a new mother as well. You really have to give yourself compassion and be kinder to yourself. That's what I heard all the time when I was a new mom is give yourself grace, have patience. And the things that I didn't know that babies didn't know, they have to learn how to eat. They have to learn how to sleep. They have to learn how to breastfeed. They have to learn how to crawl, how to walk, how to lift their heads. They're starting from scratch, these little buggers. I have to go back to one thing here. What is craniosacral?
Oh, God. Here we go. Okay, so this is another one that is a little bit harder to describe. But basically, craniosacral, so cranium is your head, and sacrum or sacral is your bum, basically your pelvis, like your tailbone kind of area. So between the head and the tailbone, we have our entire nervous system, right? We have the spinal cord, we have the vertebrae, we have all of that. There's also fluid that runs through our brain, through our head, all the way down through our spinal cord and all of that down to our sacrum and then back up. So it's kind of like a loop. And that is called cerebrospinal fluid.
Okay.
And it has a rhythm of its own. And so craniosacral therapy helps with that rhythm. It helps to make things run more efficiently in that loop.
Okay.
Because things like body tightness, body compression, especially after birth when babies are all born with misshapen heads for the most part, right? And that's normal because they need to have those bones overlapping in order to get through the birth canal. But it's when those bones don't come back into their rounded shape, when they're still overlapping weeks and months later, that's causing a lot of compression. And that's actually messing with the flow. It's messing with our body's ability to function in its optimal state, our nervous system to function in its optimal state. And anything, so things like body tightness can affect the nerves, which can then affect this fluid as well. And so craniosacral therapy works on the head, it works on the sacrum, everything in between, but it also works on fascia. And fascia is like a connective tissue that surrounds all of our things. So like it surrounds our muscles and our bones and our nerves and organs and all the things. Right. The way I describe fascia often to parents, because it's a complex thing, but if you've ever cut raw chicken and it's that white layer that is so hard to cut, that is fascia. Fascia is so good. It's there to protect everything underneath. It's underneath our skin, but over top of our muscles. So it's there to protect. It's really good at protecting. It's not so good at releasing. And when it protects and it tightens and then it doesn't necessarily release, then we can potentially have issues.
Right.
And so a lot of the time with craniosacral therapy, that can really help babies to be less fussy, be more comfortable in their own bodies. Sometimes if there's difficulties with development or they don't like tummy time or they're really scrunched up and they haven't really done that whole like stretching and extending that newborns do. If they're really tight and the craniosacral therapy can help, it can also help in the mouth if there's feeding difficulties. If there's tightness in the tongue is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. And then you're going to have pain with breastfeeding, reflux, all these different things. It's always sort of my go-to with babies initially. And then I kind of layer in other things on top of that, but we need to take care of the body first because you could do all sorts of, let's practice crawling, let's practice this over and over and over. But if the body is tight and goes right back to how it was, then what was the point?
Right.
We have to release the tension. We have to release the compression. We need that body to be working as efficiently as possible. And that often leads to things like better sleep, a more calm and content baby, right? And then that takes the pressure off both of you.
Everything is coming full circle for me when you just said that, because I didn't even think about the baby's journey when they come out of the canal. It's really birth, right?
100%.
We're putting them through fight or flight the minute that they wake up, obviously through the necessary means, but at the same time, we never take the time to release that tension and to release that chicken white part that, I'm going to use that forever, that tightness that is probably what's bothering them. Just like if we go through a traumatic car accident or if we go through something that really jolts our body, that we would probably go see a chiropractor or go see a physiotherapist.
Exactly.
And babies really, their fussiness is probably stems from a lot of that birth trauma.
And even, here's the thing too, with that quote unquote birth trauma, like it is trauma. It's a small trauma for sure. Some births are way more traumatic than others, but all birth, even if you have the most natural, amazing water birth at home, your baby is still going through a lot of squishing and squeezing from the contractions. Their head is banging against your pelvis. They're getting a lot of compression. They're getting squeezed through this teeny tiny little birth canal. And they have to do the right movements and twists and turns in order for their head to actually fit through properly. I mean, they do that all without really thinking about it, but sometimes they get stuck. And then we have the interventions, which can just exacerbate what they've already had to go through. So even those babies that have had the most magical birth, or that moms have had the most magical birth, that baby is still going through a lot. I think we don't think about that.
We don't.
We're so focused on the moms that we're not thinking about the baby. The baby is getting those contractions just as painfully or as hard as the mom is.
Yeah, you're right. We don't really think about the baby's journey beginning until that first cry. And so prior to that, them living in the belly, then coming out, that journey is also very traumatic.
Exactly.
Right?
And then in the womb, if they were stuck under your rib for many weeks and they couldn't move the way that they're meant to move in utero, then they're going to have tightness because they were in one position versus doing their little flips and whatever they're doing in utero, right? Or if they were sideways instead of upside down. There's so many things that can happen that can lead to this tightness, tension, compression. And we need to work that out.
So Kaili, what are the top 3 topics that you deal with as a baby guru? What do new moms need to know and why they need to come to somebody like you to help them navigate this new journey called motherhood?
I can only choose 3. So my big 3 really are kind of more broad concepts versus like sleep. Is really to get curious about yourself and your own parenting values, because that is going to be number one important thing to do. But also to get curious about your instincts, because you really want to start tuning into those. Everybody has instincts inside of them.
Right.
It's just a matter of listening and trusting what your first thought is or how you feel about that provider or whatever. So that's one of the things, is really to get curious about yourself, but also to get curious about your baby. How was their birth? Put yourself in their shoes. The next one is gaining clarity. And gaining clarity about what is biologically normal or typical for baby sleep or baby feeding or intro to solids or whatever it is, development. That's going to help you to really, quote unquote, assess your baby at home and to watch and to be like, okay, is my baby within that range of what typical is? Yes? Then I have nothing to worry about. I can just enjoy my baby, regardless of what social media says.
That's my doctor 95% of the time is social media. Just kidding.
And then the third one is the courage. It's really empowering moms to have the courage to trust their instincts and to realize that actually my baby is just fine, just the way they are. And I can do motherhood my way and not feel guilty because I'm going against what my doctor said.
Right.
Or I don't have to worry about doing XYZ that this person on social media said. I remember back in New York City, I had 5 different sleep schedules posted on our little apartment walls. All 5 of them said something different. None of them worked. And we were so stressed out. My husband was like, which one do we follow? I was like, let's choose this one today because the other one didn't work. And it just made everything so much more overwhelming and stressful because we were trying so hard and nothing seemed to be working.
Yeah.
You know what worked? Was actually leaning into the fact that, yeah, my baby slept way better when he was close to me. Okay, let's just do that.
Right. Using your intuition rather than just using what everyone tells you that you should do. And if you don't follow it, you should be guilty, right?
The shoulds are so hard.
And especially as a new mom, you're feeling very hormonal with all the changes in your body. I found that part was really hard because it made me feel guilty about a lot of things. Like breastfeeding was the one for me where I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And then I felt bad that I couldn't do it. And so as a type A personality, I need to do it. I need to master and do everything the way that it's supposed to work, right? And I couldn't do it. And I felt like a failure and I felt terrible. I felt like I am a human that couldn't provide for my baby. And that was the worst feeling to feel in the world.
100%. And there's probably a reason why breastfeeding was so hard, right?
Right.
And that's part of what I do is help you figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
Why was it so hard? Or was it hard because it was just mentally draining and you just didn't want to do it? You didn't enjoy it. It's like getting curious about the why.
Right.
Why don't you enjoy it? Is it painful? Is it so much work to get her latched and then she doesn't get a full feed? What is going on? And this is the part I think that makes me stand out a little bit is that I do dig deep. I do try to find the root of what is actually going on because I have so many different experiences and knowledge in all these different areas that I might not be able to help you specifically solve the, let's say, milk supply or whatever, but I can see and I can look at the big picture and be like, oh, okay, we've tried all these other things that can affect milk supply. I also think that you should go and get support from an international board certified lactation consultant, an IBCLC. And I can direct you to the person who can help with that specific sort of quote unquote root cause.
I think that's so important. There's always a root cause to everything, and we try to remedy it too quick with surface things that just patch the problem.
And this is unfortunately the problem I find in the medical system, where they're not looking for the root cause. They're like, here's your medication, just sleep train your child, and it's fine.
Isn't that another podcast topic?
Totally.
What's wrong with our medical system?
100%.
Where do we begin?
Yeah.
Goodness. Okay, so moving on from that, because that is a long topic. What would you tell your 18-year-old self?
I don't even remember what I was doing at 18.
It's all a blur.
So what would I tell my 18-year-old self? I would tell my 18-year-old self to really just keep following your passions. Keep doing your own thing. Follow those passions. Follow those little whispers. Follow your dreams. I think at 18, I still thought I was going to be a pediatrician, but then I realized that involved doing the whole medical school thing and surgery, and I do not want that.
Yeah.
And then I had to find a new path. Follow your dreams and follow your passions. That's what I would tell the 18-year-old self. And really that anything is possible. You do have to put in the work. Anything is possible. If you really want something bad enough, you can make it happen.
I love that so much, Kaili, because there's so many young people right now that are going through their career discovery and also feel that pressure and that guilt because they don't know. I feel like our topics are all coming full circle here. I love that. Following your passion, I think that's such an important one, right? And those whispers. Oh, I remember suppressing those whispers a lot when I was little.
Because you were shooting on yourself.
Yes, always. Like growing up in an Asian family, there were certain expectations to be a certain way. I had two life choices, to be a lawyer or to be a doctor. Those were the two, right? I wanted to be an actress. And my parents were like, that's not going to happen. So here I am doing a podcast.
There you go.
Okay, so going back to entrepreneurship, what do you think has been the most rewarding aspect of your journey as an entrepreneur?
I think for me, it has been the flexibility. And that's like that time freedom that I think we are all seeking, right? We don't want to be stuck in a 9 to 5. We don't want to be working for somebody else who dictates our schedule. For me, that has been the biggest success because I started my entrepreneurship journey when I had my first baby and we had just moved. And so I needed to have that flexibility. And then I was working just really part-time. I was also contracting my services to various clinics, but very, very part-time, always on my own terms of, I can give you like this afternoon and that's it. And as I had my second, I realized that was even more important. And I couldn't imagine actually going to a 9 to 5 or going to a clinic and working full time the whole day and not seeing my babies during the day. So that has been the best part, I think, really, is this time freedom. And it has also allowed my husband to do his career and to do the traveling for work and to have the longer hours if he needs to and to make the sales and make the money and all the things because I can be that stable person that's like able to have that flexible schedule to take the children to the doctor and to be home on PA days and like all the things. And so that has worked for our family and that has been really important as well. I can walk my kids to school and I pick them up from school and that's amazing. I love doing that. And then they come home and I still am able to do some work. And I can do work after they go to bed. And I love that flexibility. I am not good with rigid rules.
Schedule, rules. Yes, that's true. I mean, you and me. And I think what's so great is that you're living the dream, Kaili. I always grew up wanting to be there to raise my kid and just really being there every day for them, being impactful for them. But also I'm a career person. I love to do what I do. And I think it shows our kids, my daughter, the example that, hey, you know what? Mom can be a mom in this day and age, as well as have her career that she loves and thrives in.
I will just add in a little bit because I think that sometimes people are like, oh my God, how are they doing it all? I am a mom, but I'm not like a homeschooling mom. I don't have all sorts of new fun sensory activities ready for them after school.
Right.
I am not the mom that does all the baking and fancy things.
Right. Yep.
Right?
That's the Instagram mom.
Exactly.
Right? That's for sure.
Like, I don't have Pinterest-worthy, bedrooms or playrooms or anything like that. So I just want to normalize it that I am a mom. I love my children. They come to me whenever they need anything, and I will do my best to help them. But I'm also not this Pinterest-worthy mom who's got all the fancy mom things and kid activities. And I don't drive my kids to all sorts of different activities either. They have a lot of downtime. They have a lot of time to be bored. And yes, sometimes they watch TV, and that's okay. Like today, they're home for a PA day, and I know my husband is there right now.
Yeah.
He's working from home. They're watching Grizzy and the Lemmings.
Yes. She got my daughter on that. Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that putting it out there that I'm not doing it all, whatever it all is.
And thank you for normalizing that. I think that's really important to make sure we don't set other women up for that expectation and then us feeling guilty for not hitting certain expectations, right? So I think that's a great clarification for sure. Okay, so we're going to do some rapid fires because I want to get to know our CEO beyond what's here. You ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Actually, I'm an introvert.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's been such an interesting realization. When I was younger, my introverted side was so apparent. I was like the shyest of the shy. I remember in high school, I had a best friend who she must have just been like, you're going to be my best friend. And I was like, okay. Because she was the one I remember she would always be calling me being like, you're coming out with us. I'm picking you up because I would not call anyone.
Right.
I would not go anywhere. I was very reserved, shy. I just want to be on my own. And so she really pulled me along the way.
Yeah.
It's funny because as I've grown older, I do love the social nature. However, then I go home and I'm exhausted and I have to have a nap.
Yeah. Like after this podcast, she's going to nap for 3 hours. Love it. Are you a coffee or a tea person?
Coffee, 100%.
Oh, yeah. In the morning, big cup right there. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
I'm an in-the-middle bear.
Never heard that before.
So if you look up sleep chronotypes, I have a blog on it too for babies. But
okay, we'll link it.
Sleep chronotypes. And I'm a bear. Okay. I like to sleep in a little bit, like 7, 8 o'clock is my sweet spot for waking up. But I also go to bed at 9, 10 o'clock. Okay. So I love my sleep. So I'm not really an early bird and I'm not really a night owl. I'm just in between.
In the middle bear. You heard it here first. Are you a dog or a cat person?
Interesting question. I would have to choose cat. I'm not really either.
Okay.
I don't love pets in general because it's just too much work.
Yes.
I don't love the fur everywhere.
Oh, yes. I have one, so I know what you mean. Yeah.
I would say I'm a cat person. When I was younger, I hated dogs. I was deathly afraid of dogs.
Were you ever attacked by one?
So we had a neighbor and they had a big dog. And I remember there was one day where I was coming out of the house that I grew up in. And this dog was out on the driveway and saw me and started running towards me. And of course, I ran. Yeah. Which is not what you're supposed to do because they're just going to run after you.
When a dog chases you, yeah.
And I ran into the house. And then since then, I've just been so freaked out. In my OT career, I have done so many roles that require me to go into people's homes. Right. And you never know what you're going to get.
Right.
I've had to become used to and okay with pets.
Right. I'm going to take you to puppy yoga.
Sounds good. My daughter will want to come because my daughter is 100% a dog lover and wants to pet all the dogs. My son is deathly afraid of dogs, so we will never have a dog.
So funny. Okay, well, your daughter can come over anytime. What's your go-to comfort food?
I'm going to say pizza. I just love pizza, even though I know it's not really good for you. We actually have pizza every Friday night. It's just a tradition.
We sometimes do the same thing too. We alternate between pizza and sushi.
Oh, nice. Yeah. We'll have sushi usually on Sundays if we are just feeling too tired or we've been busy that weekend. Yeah. Then we do sushi.
Amazing. Are you a summer or winter person?
Whew, good question. I'm going to say I'm also in between. My favorite season is actually the fall. Oh. I love the warm days. I love the cozy evenings. I am not a lover of extremes. Right. So really cold and the slush that comes with winter. And then the really hot where you're like, oh my God, I'm sweating and this is so gross.
Oh
that comes with the summers.
You're an in-between bear.
Exactly.
I'm going to use that in every single one of my podcasts now. Well, thank you so much, Kaili. You can find her at kailiets.com as well as craniallot.com. We'll link everything in the show notes. She has her own podcast called Mothering from Within, as well as a wonderful book that I have right here called Mothering from Within. You can find her on all the socials. We'll link that into the show notes. Thank you so much, Kaili, for being here.
Thanks so much. It was so fun chatting with you today.